Hare Krishna. One of the students has sent me a question about her mother who passed away a couple of years ago due to COVID. Her question is, her mother was known throughout her life to be very pious, very helpful, and a very good lady, someone who had helped everyone, someone who gave shelter to so many people. So despite her having led a very ideal lifestyle, why did she pass away in a not so ideal way? Whenever we are faced with the situation of our near and dear ones passing away, it's always very hard for us to move on with life. So firstly, my humble prayers to Sri Radha Gopinatha to bless you as well as your mother in your progress towards spiritual destination. Now coming to your question, why did your mother go through this difficulty despite her being very pious during her whole life? Lord Krishna, he says in Bhagavad Gita that this world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Dukkhalayam means this is a place of miseries. Ashashvatam means it is temporary. Anything that we do in this world will eventually come to an end. That's why Krishna calls it ashashvatam, temporary. Dukkhalayam, why is it called dukkhalayam? Despite us making the best plans in life, things will somehow or other end up in a way which we don't like. It will always end up miserably. That can be with our body, that can be with our mind, that can be with anything that we do in this life. Somehow or other, miseries will always come to us uninvited. That's the nature of this world. It's not a flaw, it's the feature. This is how this world has been designed, because Krishna doesn't want us to live in this world permanently. Instead, he wants us to finish our business in this world and go back to the spiritual world, which is our original home. Now, despite your mother doing so many nice activities during her life, why did she had to meet with such an abrupt end? We have to understand, to fully understand the designs or workings of karma is very difficult. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Gahana karmano gatihi. That means to understand about the intricacies of karma is very, very difficult. But what we can safely understand in this situation is, because your mother has been such a good woman during her whole life, because she did a lot of spiritual activities during her whole life, and because she was always very helpful to everyone around during her whole life, definitely she would have attained a very favorable destination. In South India, there is a very great Acharya who appeared many centuries ago by name Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya, once when he was in South Indian holy town of Kanchipuram, he asks his friend, who is a very great devotee of Lord Varadaraj, to ask Varadaraj about what is the destination of devotees who during the whole life they are very devoted to the Lord, but at the end of life they are not in a position to think about Lord. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whatever last thought you have at the time of your soul quitting the body, you will go and attain the nature of that thought. In other words, if a person thinks of a dog, at the time of the soul leaving the body, the person will become a dog in the next life. If someone thinks of a cat, they become a cat in the next life. So Ramanujacharya was wondering, if a devotee during the whole life performs bhakti very nicely, but at the end of their life, his or her life, had to quit the body in a very unfavorable circumstance. Let's say somebody passes away in an accident, like that. There's no time to prepare one's consciousness to think of Krishna. There is no time to prepare for death. In such circumstance, what will happen to the next life, or what is the destination of such a devotee? When this question was put forth to Lord Varadaraj, Varadaraj sends the reply back through the devotee friend who Ramanujacharya accepted as one of his instructing spiritual masters, Kanchipurna, that was his name. So Kanchipurna comes back with the answer, and he tells to Ramanujacharya that Lord Varadaraj said, if a devotee can't think of the Supreme Lord at the time of death, despite him or her having performed lot of devotional services during the whole life, despite such a devotee having led a very clear, clean, and pure spiritual lifestyle, if such a devotee can't think of the Supreme Lord, Varadaraj says, in that case, he will think about the devotee. In other words, even if a devotee gives up his or her body in an unfavorable situation, nothing is lost. Supreme Lord will think about that devotee, and because of that, the devotee will go back to the spiritual world. So, our humble prayers to Sri Radha Gopinatha to bless your mother specially, that she had led a very clean life, and externally, even though it may seem for us that she left in a very unfavorable situation, we can safely assume that Lord Krishna would have taken care of her and given her a very favorable destination. Hare Krishna.